What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description below and along the timeline, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Yesterday on YouTube, we had a new member, Sandy Gardner. Thank you so much for joining us. You're really appreciated, as well as everyone on this channel who takes the time out of your day to come here and listen to these. It does mean the world to me, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. And with that being said, let's get in to today's stories. Our first story is from Not Karen's Dad. Am I the arsehole for refusing to name our daughter Karen? My wife and I recently found out we're having a daughter. We hadn't really talked about names before, but we both agreed that each of us will retain veto power. When we did start discussing names, both of us wanted to name her after our late mothers. Her mum's name was Karen and my mum's name wasn't a meme. I told her the baby can take my mum's name as her first name and her mum's name as a middle name, or have an entirely different name, but I can't okay Karen as a first name in any case. She got offended because she just wants to honour her mother and thinks I have a problem with that. I just don't want to set our daughter up to be bullied throughout her life. I told her I'd be fine with whatever first name she picks, as long as it doesn't lead to the baby being picked on later in life, but she's pretty insistent on Karen. Now, this is a short one, but I couldn't resist putting it on this channel, and there's also an update to this as well. But yeah, I got to agree with OP in this situation. I know it's a sad situation, and I do feel sorry for Karens. Most of the Karens all over the world, obviously not the ones the memes come from, but to be called a Karen right now, it's got to be like rough, man. It's got to be rough. And it's such a shame that people can't name their children that as well, but in fear of being bullied later on in life. But I can totally get what OP is saying. And you know, the Karen meme might die out by the time she's older, but is that a risk you want to take? I don't think so. Let's have a look at the comments to see what they say. Acceptable Message 59 says, not the arsehole, it was a normal name, now it's a joke. Imagine baby Karen. People are going to make jokes all her life. BrittyPop87 says, I personally feel like the Karen thing will die off one day, and our children's generation will likely not know anything about it. However, I can see where you would still be adamant about not wanting to name her that. There is a bit of a stigma around that name today. I think you guys should take a different route in name picking and just steer clear of tribute naming. Good luck, not the arsehole. Tara Top 3 says, not the arsehole, give her 2 middle names and pick a completely new first name. Or if there's a way to combine your mum's name and her name to create a new name, that might be cool. Or maybe you could just suggest something like Corrine, could be spelled different ways like Corin or Karen. This is my middle name and is spelled C-A-R-Y-N, or Carly, or Ren. And it's still got kind of some of her mum's name in to honour her, but it also gives your daughter her own name too. Armstrong13 says, not the arsehole, I get where you are coming from. We did the same thing, except we used my mum's middle name as her first name. That way we knew it was a tribute to my mum, but no one else needed to know. This was long before the Karen meme started. Another reason we chose the middle name is we found it'd be weird and a little uncomfortable for me to have to discipline my child, which thankfully didn't happen often, and use my mum's name at the same time. And here's the update. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up. I thought I'd delete this since this issue is pretty much resolved now, but you guys are clearly enjoying this. So I thought I'd provide an update. We had a talk about this and why she had such an emotional reaction to my veto. Ever since her mum died suddenly when she was only 14, she wanted to name her first daughter after her, and she didn't really ever consider that meme might be a potential obstacle. By that point, I thought about it for a while and realised that, as many of the comments have pointed out, Karen likely won't be a meme by the time she's old enough to feel its impact. So I told her I'll recant my veto, but we should still reconsider it because it still has potential complications, and then we might just come up with a better tribute. While exchanging ideas, we realised that both our mothers very coincidentally had the exact same middle name, Elizabeth. Well, mine had 2 middle names and Elizabeth was one of them, but still. It seemed completely perfect to both of us, so we're going with it. Thanks for all your inputs. God, halfway through that I thought, oh no, he's gonna agree to name Karen. God, this might have to be the thumbnail of this post. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Guys, let me know what you think of this story. Would you have a problem with naming your baby Karen? Do you think they may potentially get bullied later on in life because of it, or do you think the meme will die down by then? Who knows? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from Jugbug Rug. Am I the arsehole for telling my dad either you pay me a proper wage or I'll quit? My dad owns a restaurant and intends to leave it to one of his kids. My sister, who is 28, was not interested and went to be a hairdresser. My brother, who is 29, is in uni. Meanwhile, I am 25, went to cook school, or whatever you call it in English, and graduated 2 years ago. I love to cook, I love to experiment, I love working in the restaurant business, despite the hours being fucking horrid. So I have been designated as the heir, more or less. Despite everything going on, the restaurant runs great, and frankly, I take full credit for it. Ever since I took over as head chef, revamped the menu, created a system for people to order and pick up food, and so on, the amount of customers has tripled. We actually make more during the crisis, even without allowing dining customers, than my dad made before I worked here full time. On top of that, I also often work when someone falls through, be it kitchen work, serving, hosting, whatever. I manage most of the accounting, and I also started a social media presence for the restaurant, which has blown up locally. Long story short, I work a minimum of 60 hours a week, often more. Now, I do all this with love. I like it despite swallowing up all my time, but this brings us to what I make. I literally make as much as the serving staff, who are all under 20, would make if they worked full time. That is to say, I make what they would make in 40 hours while working 60 plus hours and having triple the workload, and I am tired of it. I tried speaking to my dad about it, but I kept getting inconclusive answers or bullshit answers. As an example, he talks about it being a difficult time for restaurants, so can't increase my wage, despite the fact we make more despite the crisis, or shit like, I'll think about it. I can barely pay my goddamn rent at this rate, let alone even save a dime. So I ended up saying, what's in the title? I could get a job like yesterday, extreme shortage of chefs, and make at least double what I make right now starting out. Obviously this led to my dad and family blowing up at me, and now I'm worried if I'm the arsehole. You know, if you're in a workplace, family or not, that's not treating you correctly, that's not paying you correctly, then you find another job. Someone that will appreciate your skills more, pay you more, because it's what you deserve in the end, right? You've trained for this position. If you're getting paid the same as the serving staff, no disrespect, but they're working less hours than you, and you're working as a head chef and you're getting the same pay, that, you know, it's just not on in the end, is it really? So yes, I would say you just need to find another job. I would say never work with family anyway, because I just think it causes rifts in the end, further down the line. Maybe not straight away, everything's great, but eventually something will come up that will cause a rift between you. It just generally happens. I see it all the time in these stories. But yes, let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Remboy says, not the arsehole. Sounds like your dad is just using you for cheap labour. Spooky Dragonfire says, as someone who's working in a family business, leave. They do not appreciate you and will not. Get yourself a better paying restaurant job. With your experience, it should be no problem. Unipride says, not the arsehole. It's important to keep the business side separate from the family side. It's clear that you have been a huge asset and you deserve to be compensated as much. Conk75 says, not the arsehole. Your dad is an arsehole who either doesn't care you can't pay rent or wants to take advantage of a cheap chef, or both. Either way, you sound like your request is reasonable. Maybe in other areas he's struggling, but shouldn't be neglecting his restaurant employees for the sake of other financial issues, if he even has any. Fading Blue says, not the arsehole. You're working 60 hours a week and you're struggling to make ends meet. You tried asking your dad for more money, but he kept blowing you off. He created a situation where he'd eventually lose you by not paying you fairly, and you're doing what you can to stay in the family business. Now, how would you react if you was in that situation, if you was working in the family business and not being paid an adequate amount? How would you approach that with the father, with your employer? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story is from Prior Dragonfruit 8147. Am I the arsehole for telling my fiance that it would be tacky for her to wear a wedding dress emphasising her baby bump? Context, we were originally supposed to be married back in June, but that was cancelled for obvious reasons. We're both in our 30s, so the plan had been to start trying for a baby right before our wedding. I wanted to delay that when the wedding was cancelled since I didn't want her to be pregnant and unmarried, but she begged me to stick with the original plan due to our age and medical history, and promised that if and when she got pregnant, we'd have a civil ceremony. She got pregnant our first cycle, but didn't want to have the ceremony right away. She said there was no rush. By August, she decided she instead wanted to do a small ceremony in December at her parents' house and didn't want a civil ceremony because she wanted our ceremony to be real. Fine. Disputes. My fiance's original dress won't work for our wedding in December because by then she'd be almost 30 weeks pregnant. So she had to find another that would work with her stomach. I haven't seen it, but when I asked her how it works, she told me it is form-fitted. I asked her to clarify just to be sure I didn't have the wrong idea, and she told me that the dress isn't meant to hide her stomach, it's meant to complement it. I am already uncomfortable with the situation, and I have family coming that are not happy with the way we've done things. I can deal with that, but I think this is too much. It's a bad look in my opinion that makes us look tacky. She on the other hand says it's fine and not a problem. Why I may be the arsehole. I told her my thoughts and how I felt flaunting her pregnancy while we're getting married would be a bad look. I said that wearing a dress like that would be tacky and begged her to choose something less form-fitting. That really upset her, so now I'm an arsehole because I, in her words, am prioritising the feelings of her family over her feelings and shaming her for being pregnant and treating her like an embarrassment. My intent wasn't to hurt her or make her feel like I'm ashamed of her, but I wanted her to be reasonable and sensitive to the situation. I did offer to do a separate ceremony later after the baby is born, if we had eloped, but she declined, so I don't think she can say I didn't try to accommodate her, and I don't feel like my ask is unreasonable given how flexible I've been until now. Am I the arsehole? My first initial thought is, she's 30 weeks pregnant. What the hell is she gonna hide her pregnancy bump with? A bin bag or what? You're gonna see it no matter what she's wearing, man. And to me, it just sounds like you are prioritizing your family's feelings over your future wife's feelings. You know, that's not a good start. And in my opinion, you are shaming her because she's pregnant. You're telling her to hide the baby bump underneath her wedding dress. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong in that opinion, but that's the way I feel. I think I'm someone who personally sees it as a beautiful thing, so I say show it off, but as I say, I might be totally wrong there. But let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Facepalmer Wall says, you're the arsehole. You shouldn't be having a kid if you're ashamed of your fiance's baby bump. She shouldn't have to hide it or wear a tent because you haven't finished growing up. How the hell did you think calling her trashy would go over remotely less than terrible? Upper Potato 4894 says, and quotes, prioritising the feelings of my family over her feelings. And then says true, and quotes again, shaming her for being pregnant. Then says true, and quotes again, treating her like an embarrassment. And says true, you're literally asking her to hide her baby bump at your wedding, despite the fact you made that bump happen. Also, why are you ashamed? It's 2020, bro. The apocalypse has basically written this year off as the weirdest in history, and nobody gives a shit that you got pregnant before you got married. If you gave so much of a shit, you shouldn't have impregnated her. You're the arsehole. Picachinito says, you're the arsehole. It's not going to be a secret that she's pregnant. There's absolutely no reason to hide it. You can grow a pair and tell any family member who feel a certain kind of way that's 2020, and you can have whatever kind of family you want in any order you want. If they don't like it, they don't need to attend the wedding. You Just Never Know says, you're the arsehole, and quotes, I didn't want her to be pregnant and unmarried. And then says, you know this is the 21st century, right? Women can have babies without being married. Also, as long as she is comfortable in what she's wearing, it really does not matter what you think. She's given you the child you both agreed you wanted. Man the fuck up and cherish her like the goddess she is. Now, what do you guys think of this story? Do you think she should be showing off that baby bump or not? Or should she be hiding it up like OP says? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And small little pause while we're here, just to remind you that there's the Halloween competition going on over in our Discord, which you can find the invite link in the description below. Come get involved. There's a prize for the best dressed up when it's judged at the end of the month. So yeah, come get involved. It'd be great to see you there. Much love to you. And our next story is from Monday morning. Am I the arsehole for refusing to go back after my boyfriend gave my deceased boyfriend's cat to his sister? I, female 24, have a cat named Mandy that my deceased boyfriend had before he passed away from lung cancer 3 years ago. I moved out of town and took her with me. We have a lot of memories together with her. She reminds me of him a lot, and I feel like he's closer to me whenever she's around. I work and study, and I had some friends watch her when I'm busy. My boyfriend that I've been seeing for over a year said it was fine if I brought her to stay at his place. I already told him that she was mine and deceased boyfriend's cat, and he said nothing except when someone asks about her, he'd tell them she was adopted by me, which is not true, and refuses to tell them her story. I didn't pay attention to that, even though it made me uncomfortable. But he started talking about wanting to get a dog and that she needs to go. I told him that if she goes, then I go as well, and that he can get a dog. I wasn't stopping him. He argued with me about not wanting to be responsible for her whatsoever and agreed to take care of her myself. He then started taking her with him whenever he visits family and friends, takes pictures of her for Facebook, saying he was wrong about her and wanted to take care of her. He said he wanted to visit his sister's house, which is a 4-hour drive, and that I should let him take my cat with him so I can focus on work and studying. I agreed to let him take her with him, even though it was a long distance. 2 days later he came back without her and told me that his sister got hung up on my cat and wanted her to stay for a week. I was speechless. I started yelling at him, asking how he let her keep my cat. He tried to convince me that she'll adapt, especially his sister has other cats as well. I told him she belongs to my deceased boyfriend, and he got mad I mentioned this and said he'd go back after a week to get her back if I stopped mentioning my deceased boyfriend. I argued with him, then I went back to my family's house. I couldn't even focus on studying. He called, wanted me to come back, saying he couldn't say no to his sister, but I refused to go back until she returned. It's been over a week now, and nothing happened. Wouldn't this be considered like theft or catnapping or something like that? If he hadn't went straight away and got her back, I'd be getting the police involved. That is your cat, that's your pet. You cannot do that to someone. The OP's clearly got issues with you talking about your deceased boyfriend, whether it be jealousy or what, but that is part of your life. That was part of your history. You should be able to speak about that sort of stuff and not have to bottle it up for the rest of your life because he doesn't like it. And I think the whole dog thing was just another excuse to try and get rid of this cat because it's just obviously it's a memory for you, so he's trying to remove that. There's some, yeah, I'm not sure he's the right guy for you, to be quite honest. He sounds like a bit of an asshole. But yeah, just call the police now, for Christ's sake. Ron fucking Swanson says, you should say, I will have my cat back by the end of the day tomorrow, or I will contact the police and file theft charges. This relationship is over. Do not make me have you arrested because nothing would make me happier at this point. Not the arsehole. Riri202 says, not the arsehole. Contact the sister directly and explain the situation and arrange to get your cat. Split up with your boyfriend after you have your cat. He absolutely cannot be trusted. But what are you waiting for? Make contact and get that cat. Can you find her on Facebook? Contact the police. Contact any of your boyfriend's family members until you find your cat. Deadly Housefrau says, not the arsehole, but aren't you going to get your cat? OP replies saying, I don't have a car to drive that distance. I don't even know where she lives. My boyfriend is making conditions to get her back, and he's making me so upset, and I feel awful because of what he did. Riri says again, please, get the police involved now. This is theft. Tomboy Barbie says, not the arsehole, he lied about wanting to keep her, so you'd let your guard down, and let him take her away. You already told him that if she went, so did you, so it's time to get your cat back and follow through. Make sure you have proof she's yours before you go, just in case you run into trouble claiming her. OP replies to this again saying, he's been acting strange one minute, he wants her to stay, the other he tells me she needs to go, especially when he sees me feeding her or bathing her. I've been having a hard time trying to get him to be clear with me, and he's been changing his mind several times. Wow, another crazy story with the boyfriend just taking the cat and just disappearing with it. What the hell? And then coming back and thinking that everything's going to be fine. There's something not right in that guy's head, right? What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. So if you made it this far, well done to you. I'm going to be doing a bit of my update on my dad because some of you wanted to know. I know some of you won't want to know, so this is pretty much where the stories end here. But if you do want to know about the situation with my dad, hang on in there. Here we go. So I think from the last point, my dad was pretty much bedbound. He's finished his chemo. He stopped on the 3rd bout because he couldn't really handle it anymore. He was getting too weak. Recently, for some reason, he lives in a two-story house, and he's been trying to go up and down stairs to get certain things, and he's just not strong enough. His legs ain't strong enough to carry him no more. So he managed to get downstairs, but when he was trying to go upstairs, you know, it took him like nearly an hour to get back upstairs. And you're thinking, Dad, why didn't you just phone me? I would have come helped you, you know. But, you know, he's a proud man, so he does his thing. But he managed to get back up there, but it was exhausted by the end of that, and was in bed for like a couple of days after. So I think he's starting to really find out how vulnerable he is now, if he hadn't before. He also fell on his face the other day, so, you know, it's kind of difficult to try and tell him, look, you need to let us help you more and stop trying to overexert yourself, because at the moment he was on some steroids a couple of weeks ago, which really picked him up, and he was looking more like himself. He was talking like his old self, a bit more of his jokey spirit back, and he was eating a lot more, which was fantastic. And we sort of moved a lot of his furniture. Well, we bought like a couple of these new chairs that help him up. They like go up and down and all this kind of thing, and moved his TV upstairs. So we made like a little living room upstairs for him, so he doesn't have to go downstairs at the moment. And if he does get stronger, then he can sort of go downstairs again. But I can't see that happening, to be quite honest. But yeah, then the steroids, because he could only have like a 3-week course of them, because they said there's like negative effects if he keeps taking them. They said they weaken your legs even further. So I don't know if the leg weakness is what he's getting right now from the steroids. But as soon as he came off the steroids, his appetite left him again. He's basically eating nothing. He eats a couple of biscuits in the morning, a coffee, maybe some toast in the afternoon, but he says he fancies stuff. So like the other day he wanted like a Chinese chow mein randomly, so got it him, and then you put it in front of him and he just says, no, I don't really want it now. It's like that. It's like it's in his head, he wants it, but as soon as it's in front of him, nah, he don't want it anymore. And one of the doctors has told us not to try and like force him to eat or anything. Obviously we're not going to shove it down his face, but she said if he doesn't want food, then that's fine. But I'm sort of like, well, if this carries on like this, he's just going to deteriorate even further, you know. He's losing kilos as it is per month. I mean, 1 month, like a couple of months back, he lost 20 kilos in a month. Like, who can sustain that, right? So it's just basically a ticking time bomb at the moment. And when all this sort of started, we bought him one of these like mobility scooters so he can sit down and he can still go outside and get some air, you know. He hasn't had air, he hasn't been outside in months. I mean, he's been upstairs for months now. So this Sunday, we're with one of my brothers, we're going to try and get him out, even if we have to piggyback him down the stairs, you know, just to try and get him out, because he can, you know, he's all there, and I think it'd do him some good just to get some air. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna try and take him out and, you know, just go for a walk or something. It doesn't have to be far, just a little something. And we're still talking to various doctors. I got a phone one today, his palliative nurse, and I'm just gonna see if there is some sort of steroid which he can have just to try and encourage it to eat again. And I'm sort of in two minds, and I know this is gonna sound horrible, but like, why can't he just have the steroids if his legs are weak already? And I can't see them getting better because, you know, if you don't know already, his cancer is life limiting. He was given till pretty much the end of this year, and you know, that's the nature of this cancer he has. Generally with mesothelioma, it's between 9 and 12 months you get once you're diagnosed, and I mean, he's approaching 9 months now, so we just don't know. But you know, we have to take every little positive we can at the minute. We've still got time with my dad, which some people don't get. So I still get to go down there. I still get to talk to him, and I still do get signs of him, you know, being his old self, which is always a positive. And you just got to pick those little positives out of everything in life. If you don't, you'll bring yourself down. So no matter what you're going through, and I know it's so hard sometimes with depression and everything and mental issues and stuff like that, and I know and I'm not trying to generalize all mental issues, but if you try and focus on every little positive, even the tiniest things like getting out of bed, if you struggle to get out of bed, if you can get out of bed a little bit earlier in the morning, that's a positive in my eyes. Pick that out and go with it, run with it. Build up on those tiny little positives and try to make things just a little bit better, you know? Otherwise, where are we going, right? Anyway, I'm talking rubbish. If you did get this far, thank you for listening, and I hope that update was something for you. I will keep you updated in the future, and I'm going to be doing some more of those single member videos soon as well. So I hope you tune in for those. And as always, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories, and if you did, let me know in the comments below. Come join us on Discord, on Twitter, all that good stuff. Love to have you around. Love the positive community we got going here. Some people take the piss, but you know, I love this stuff. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Much love to you guys. Take care. Goodbye.